Come here. Puppy, come here.
I can pull it up and read it.
Hey, welcome back to the Sunday Serving Channel, where you come for gospel hope and inspiration. Challenge.
Yeah.
And TJ, thanks for joining again.
Sure.
It's good to have someone to bat some of these passages back and forth. Should we perch on this rock somewhere and read a gospel?
That's great.
Like,
I'll sit over here.
I'm going to claim this as a coffee rest here. So, reading through the Gospels, I love that parable in Luke 12. It's a challenge about being ready. It's right at the end of the 12th chapter of Luke. I could start out and then you can carry on.
That's
here.
Great. Yeah, go ahead.
Let's read it and then think a little bit about what it means. So here, Jesus says, it's talking about being ready for anything, for action, for the kingdom. Stay dressed for action and keep your lamps burning and be like men who are waiting for their master to come home from the wedding feast so that they may open the door to him at once when he comes and knocks. Blessed are those servants whom the master finds awake when he comes. Truly I say to you, he will dress himself for service and have them recline at table, and he will come and serve them. If he comes in the second watch or in the third and finds them awake, blessed are those servants. But know this, that if the master of the house had known at what hour the thief was coming, he would not have left his house to be broken into. You also must be ready, for the Son of Man is coming at an hour you do not expect. So maybe before we read the second half of that parable, where Jesus kind of explains it, what strikes you about that? Like what?
It's interesting. So often people in my experience, people I've seen who kind of say, oh, well, Jesus, all the early Christians thought Jesus was going to come right away or in their lifetime. That might have been true, but what I like about this parable is he says that it might happen in the second or third watch. And I think that says both that it's going to be unexpected and it's that it might take a while. And here we are 2,000 years later, the second coming hasn't happened yet, but we should still be ready.
Yeah.
I think this is telling us that even if it does take a long time and even if we don't expect it, we don't expect it to be at this or that exact time, we should still be ready. We should still be prepared.
So being ready.
Yeah.
What does that all entail, being ready? We have to, in this case, the parable, it's like you're making sure no thief comes and breaks in, you're keeping things in order, you're keeping the house, keeping up to maintenance, keeping things clean, maybe having a meal ready for if the master comes, but obviously in our lives, making our hearts ready, living by Jesus' commandments, loving each other, forgiving each other.
That reminds me, there's something else here which I think is pretty cool, and if I remember right, it's emphasized in the second half too, is that in this picture, in this parable, Jesus gives us a lot of freedom to work on his behalf. The servants have to keep everything in order, keep everything ready. The Son of Man is away, he's not telling them what to do. But then, as we see, at one point, we're going to have to give an account. And I think we get to that in the second half.
So what do you think? So he makes a point here about being awake, right?
Yeah.
So obviously you're set to, you're given charge to watch something until someone comes back. You have to get some sleep in those 24 hours, right?
Right.
So what do you think? How do you interpret that, being awake?
That's a good question. I'd always thought that it was just to be prepared, to be ready, that you're at a moment's notice, you can leap up and spring into action. But I don't know.
I take it like that too. It's more of a metaphorical, speaking of being awake, being aware what's happening around you.
Yeah.
So, not going to sleep on the important issues.
Yeah.
Paying attention. So what about that second and third watch thing? Like, is that, like, so in the nighttime you have someone doing a 6-hour shift and someone taking the next shift, second watch, third watch would be just before morning.
Yeah.
Do you think that's like generations or 100 years or 1,000 years?
I have no idea.
Millennium?
I happen to know that that at that time they did divide the night up into 3 chunks, and the third watch was right before sunrise, and it ended at sunrise. But I don't know what the symbolism is there. I think we might have talked about this before. I think with parables like this, you're supposed to like take in the whole picture, and not zoom in too
not
close.
analyze it too much.
Yeah.
Is that a danger, TJ, for you, having gone to to Bible school and stuff, like gotten your doctorate and stuff?
Well, I haven't got my doctorate yet.
Yeah. Okay, whatever. Your master's is bad enough. Like to dive into details too much.
Yeah.
So you got to step back and look at the whole picture, like because Jesus used parables for a reason. Like he was trying to confound people that thought they knew too much, right? Like, let's use real day examples, and I think, most people they just catch it.
Yeah, I agree.
It relates to life.
Yeah.
So be awake, be watchful.
Yeah.
But the other thing was he's talking about they're preparing a wedding feast, right?
Yeah. Should we read the second half?
Yeah, let's read the second half and think a bit more about what that wedding feast is. Go on. Why don't you read it?
Yeah. So Peter said, "Lord, are you telling this parable for us or for all?" And the Lord said, "Who then is the faithful and wise manager, whom his master will set over his household to give them their portion of food at the proper time? Blessed is that servant whom his master will find doing so when he comes. Truly I say to you, he will set him over all his possessions. But if that servant says to himself, 'My master is delayed in coming,' and begins to beat the male and female servants and to eat and drink and get drunk, the master of that servant will come on a day when he does not expect him, and at an hour he does not know, and will cut him in pieces and put him with the unfaithful. And that servant who knew his master's will but did not get ready or act according to his will receive a severe beating. But the one who did not know and did what deserved a beating will receive a light beating. Everyone to whom much was given, of him much will be required, and from him to whom they entrusted much, they will demand more."
Wow.
That's sharp.
That's some pretty sharp words. And so you might think this is not encouraging, but it is, because we have to take the salt of the gospel and the sharp words and know that the grace and the love and the forgiveness is there, but we need to follow Jesus. And we need to, and here his point is, well, the same thing, that you once you know
you have to do it.
What we should do, what Jesus' teaching is, do it.
Yeah.
Right?
And I think that cuts both ways. On the one hand, it is sharp and challenging and a little bit unnerving. But on the other hand, if we can honestly say before God, we're trying our best to do it, I think God will judge us accordingly. But in the end, we have to stand before God. I think this is what this is calling us to. And then the other thing is...
well, just before you go to the other thing, so to the first part of that, blessed is that servant whom his master will find doing so when he comes, like whatever commands he gave, like prepare the food, be ready. So we don't... Maybe God's not so interested in the results of what we accomplish and the faithfulness and staying at it. Like blessed are they who persevere to the end, right? Yeah. So keep at it. Yeah. Keep doing what's right. Keep being cheerful.
Yeah.
God loves a cheerful giver. Rejoice in all circumstances. Kind of these themes are so common, but it's so easy to it lets stress and worries wear you down and say, this isn't working. We're doing something wrong.
Or we're not achieving enough.
He doesn't say here that you didn't achieve it.
Yeah.
Be ready. Yeah. Be doing what I tell you to do when I come to find you.
Yeah.
And blessed is he who's doing that. So that should be encouraging.
Yeah.
Well, go on. You had a thought. I interrupted you.
So it says he will be put with the unfaithful. I think, so when we think of faith, we think of believing the right things and stuff. I think what's more going on there is, I guess it's a different way to translate the word, is the people who aren't trustworthy. So the main thing is that if we're given an obligation or a task, that we do our best, as you say, to be trustworthy. And it's not, I don't think what he's driving at there is so much, if you believe the right things or whatever. It's a small point, but I think it's...
Okay. So, interesting. That is a good point. pretty clear here some of the stuff we shouldn't be doing, right? If you begin beating up your male and female servants, it's not a good idea.
Yeah.
And if
Eating
you
drinking,
get
getting
drunk.
Yeah.
And eat too much, it's not a good idea.
Yeah.
And it's pretty harsh because the master's going to come and cut you in pieces.
Yeah.
Anyways, be warned. And then let's talk about this part where the servant who knew, you touched on it, who knew the master's will, but did not get ready. So you're intentionally going against what Jesus teaches, what he commands, what God wants of us in our lives. You know that, and you go against it intentionally.
Yeah.
There's a much more severe consequence
than someone
who didn't know and still did wrong, deserved a beating, but will receive a light beating. So he didn't say you're not going to get a free pass, but it's going to be light. There's going to be, that indicates that there will be forgiveness or mercy for it.
Right.
A light beating, and then, okay.
Yeah, now it's done.
Now, do you think that, what does it take to know Jesus' commands? Because there's many people that grow up nominal Christian followers, but they don't actually meet Jesus or have a conversion.
Yeah.
And then later on in life, they have this experience where they really meet Jesus, say, now I'm born again, now I believe, and before that it was just window dressing.
Yeah.
Or do you think the responsibility's there if we've even just been exposed to what is right?
In all seriousness, I think God judges each person according to what he sees in their heart. And I also do think that people like me who grew up in a wonderful place like this community, we will be held to a higher standard because I've been hearing about this stuff my whole life, and I have to then be responsible. But to your point, I think people who aren't as lucky as I've been, maybe they're the ones who will receive a light beating or whatever. I don't know.
Well, it is God who judges, not us. So it's really not our business. But I think it's a bit of both and. You can be exposed to something and intentionally deny it.
Yes.
Because you're too busy being selfish.
Yes.
Or you can sincerely know.
Yeah.
Have a calling. Have a conversion, and then due to apathy, due to selfishness, drift off, you deaden your conscience, and then intentionally go against God. I think that's perhaps more severe.
Yeah.
But the good thing is, until that point comes, there is time.
Yeah.
And that's why it's important to read the Bible and to challenge yourself, to challenge each other.
Yeah.
What are we living for? What's our purpose? And let's get back to being ready, to being awake for Jesus' kingdom to come, for the second coming, for God to fulfill his purpose. He needs followers who are doing this and are calling others to do it. So I hope that's what encourages you
great.
today. And TJ, thank you for spurring me on, and we got plenty to do, right?
Likewise, thank you for spurring me on.
Okay. So God bless you all. Have a wonderful week, and we'll see what gospel story we can come up with next week. So take care. The puppy behaved today. Didn't chew up anybody's garden. Dogs are good at being watchful. You have to give them that.
Yeah.
Delta, come here.